we're seeking out authenticity all the time now, because it's really difficult in the world of AI to get that. And that is where that human to human conversation will win out, because you can't do that with AI. So, that
Always.
this makes sales even more important and even more of a skill that people have to know about. Welcome to What's That Got to Do with Marketing, where we start with a story you did not see coming. It might be fun, could be funny, or even a little bit frantic. But in the end, it will all make sense, leaving you with a takeaway, a to-do, or a transformational way forward. And I'm your host, Victoria. And you, my friend, are here for unlikely lessons and unforgettable marketing advice, just for small B2B expert-led business owners. Let's get into it. This episode is called The Heart of Sales and Marketing. Now, when I was in my early 20s, I decided that I was going to buy my own home. I was at this point a single lass and thinking, let's be a bit adult here and go it alone. I had the deposit, so I checked out some of the local estate agents that were on the market. I popped into one in particular and I thought it's an area that's probably in my budget and they've probably got what I need. So I chatted to a guy in there and he pulled, in those filing cabinets, pulled the filing cabinets out, pulled out a few profiles of some of those houses, and I agreed to go and see them with him. But better than that, he said he'd arrange all of it for me and he would personally drive me around each of them for the viewings. So we agreed a date and I was to meet him at their offices and I'd jump into his car and set off. It was a BMW. And I thought, oh, how jolly VIP. But in reality, not so much, because we got in his car and before the engine even warmed up, he lit his first of many cigarettes and cracked open the window, but not really enough to pass as, acceptable ventilation. I have to say, never in my life have I ever been, on a guided tour with passive smoking built into the mix for free, of course. And it didn't stop there. It was view, smoke, view, smoke, view, smoke the whole time. So when we pulled up at the first house and walked inside, he immediately said, "Oh, this is perfect for you as a party girl. Plenty of space to get wasted with your mates." That was the kind of vibe of it. Now, I was in my early 20s, yes, of course, but when I pictured myself in a house, I was thinking nice meals, bottle of wine, a good old gossip with my friends. And even at that time, I'm thinking, well, actually, we'll go down Blockbusters and rent a film. So when we went to see the second house, again, he was a bit like, "Oh, this is ideal. It's walking distance from the pub, so you can stagger on back." And he almost said it like it was some kind of selling feature, which for some, I'm sure it absolutely would be. But again, as a single young lady, that wasn't really on my mind to nip down the pub, have a game of pool, and then, stagger on home half cut. So then we get onto the third house. Oh, you'd love living here. There's takeaways on your doorstep. And this was particularly entertaining because I've always been more of a home cooked meal kind of girl, or a nice restaurant. Takeaways were, and they actually still are, an irregular event, not necessarily a lifestyle choice for me. I'm partial to the odd curry, don't get me wrong. But, health's got to come first, right? So, and it came to a moment when we went into this house, and yes, it had quite a nice garden. And he looked across the grass and announced, "This would be perfect for a dog. You strike me as a dog person." Well, do you know what? I've never had a bloody dog, not to this day. And here's the turning point. Every time I tried to say something that actually mattered to me when it came to purchasing a house, storage, my goodness, you've got to have good storage, right? And I wanted to have a second bedroom for guests because I didn't fancy sharing with anyone. And I wanted to have space for books. I wanted coziness. I wanted security. I'm on my own. I wanted a lovely kitchen. But each time he'd interrupt and he'd say, yeah, but imagine just being able to stumble home from the pub with your bag of chips. And by the end of the afternoon, I was pretty silent, to be honest, because I thought, what is the point in even speaking anymore? Not because I didn't know what I wanted. I was quite sure of what I wanted. I'm the kind of girl that knows what I want. But I felt like I lost my voice a little bit. I'd given up just trying to explain what I actually wanted because he had me all prejudged. And basically, I didn't buy the house. I didn't buy a house at all, in fact. I stayed living at home for a couple more years, and I spent a good chunk of that deposit, rightly or wrongly, don't judge me or do, on a car. That's what I did. A car that wasn't full of smoke, a car that didn't assume I wanted takeaway and chips for dinner every night, and it didn't have him in it, so even better. So what's that actually got to do with marketing? Well, in my eyes, great marketing gets someone curious and moves them forward step by step. But when it comes to sales, great sales, I believe, really helps people to see themselves in the decision that they're making. And it actually feels good when a purchasing decision is being made. You walk away going, I feel really good about that. Not, oh my God, what have I just done? And I think that for me, poor sales, especially when it comes to assumption based sales like this guy, it just shuts a buyer down, and it shuts you down pretty fast, because when someone makes you feel like you're not understood, when you've been dismissed, you just disengage. In my experience, and that's me personally, you stop expressing what you believe really matters. You stop evaluating your own needs because you've just been shut down. And that is why I was really keen to get this guest in today. I'm so, so happy to introduce you to the one and only Marcus Elwell. He is sales trainer and coach extraordinaire. And he brings something genuinely refreshing to the world of sales. Now, Marcus is the co-founder of The Heart of the Sale. And after more than 25 years building and scaling businesses, including 2 that have actually reached 7 figures, he now helps entrepreneurs and even bigger sales teams sell with confidence, with honesty, and importantly, with emotional intelligence. Now, he's worked with some incredibly well-known entrepreneurial groups, and that includes Rob Moore's property team. It includes Jamie Stewart's Net Circle Network. And what I love is that when Marcus teaches sales, it's never just about a script or the conversion rate that you might get, because his work is rooted in like the inner workings, because he knows from lived experience how much that actually mindset, identity, and well-being will influence your results. Now, several years ago, and we'll talk more about this when Marcus comes on, Marcus went through a life-altering situation that actually forced him to completely reset, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. And it's changed how he approaches success, how he actually sees pressure, and how he supports people avoiding burnout. And it also led him to become an active supporter and fundraiser for brain tumor research, taking on major challenges to raise awareness and encourage people to look after themselves long before they're forced to. And I think it's fair to say that he's not just any old sales trainer. He brings so much depth into his work. He helps people sell without force, and in more alignment with authenticity and with belief. Belief is so important when you're selling, because how can you possibly sell if you don't have the belief in who you are and what you're selling? So his philosophy, and we'll talk about again this in a little while, is captured beautifully in his book, which is called The Heart of the Sale. And I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes for you, where he explores sales as an extension of your identity, your purpose, and how you want to grow. But putting all of that aside for a second, that huge array of accolades, I personally know Marcus for the many deep and meaningful convos we've had over time. He gives the best hugs and is only too willing to talk in weird accents with me throughout an entire conversation, which I both appreciate and I admire that someone else is as good at doing that as I am. So, ladies and gents, I think this conversation will really resonate deeply with you, not just for those of you wanting to sell better, but for anyone that's rethinking how they approach sales. Perhaps it's not going well for you right now, how you approach well-being and how you show up in your business. So, Marcus, me old mate, welcome to the show.
I mean, what an introduction that was, mate. Um, I'm not from Australia, but thank you so much, Victoria. I mean, what an introduction that was, and I hope I live up to all of those things that you've said. I'm very much looking forward to speaking with you over the next sort of hour or so, and I've been very excited to come on to your amazing show. It's lovely to connect with you again.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Marcus, I'm going to kick off with a really important question. Before we get into all the sales nitty gritty, tell our viewers and listeners, what is it that truly makes a special hug?
Oh, wow. Great, great question. So, yeah, I mean, like everything, like making a cup of tea, there's always everyone's got their own little, formulas and things like that. So, first of all, you have to hug heart to heart, meaning that you get the heart to the heart. So it's a left shoulder to the left shoulder, the opposite one. So everybody just connects with the right side, and you can't be cold, Victoria. Like that hug where you just meet somebody and they just give you that sort of half, sort of like you can't do that. You've got to go all in, and you have to surrender. So you
If you're
have
going
to
to hug,
surrender.
hug.
You got a hug, so you go all in. You just surrender into the process. I want to feel your emotion. I want to feel your heart. I want to feel your love. And I want to see that. I want you to feel comfortable enough to do that with me as well. So
I
that
love that. And
and there's
you
time
are,
as
as
well.
I say, you are the best hugger. And the best thing is, there's not a stopping point, is there? You got to go for as long as feels good.
Well, you've got to go for as long as it feels good. Obviously, there's obviously if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I was actually hugging somebody the other day. So I was at an award ceremony last weekend, and I got acknowledged for my sort of service to sales in the industry and things like that, which was great. And actually, somebody that I've actually trained through my heart the sale actually won Salesman of the Year, which was incredible. But the reason why I was telling that story was that there was a lady again that I'd had a lot of, I've helped her out a lot. We've had a lot of deep conversations, very similar to yourself and to you and I. And I'd never actually met her in person. We've actually spoke for about 18 months. I've helped scale her business up online. And she just came over and we hugged, and we sort of, she got an amazing heart as well. And we sort of, after about sort of 30 seconds, like, okay, perhaps we need to stop this. So there is a moment you stop, unless obviously it's your beautiful partner, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever. Obviously, you can keep hugging for as long as you want. So
Amazing, amazing. So let's just go in and actually step back in time now. I really want to know, what was your first ever experience of selling? You're obviously really, really kind of in it now. You're amazing at it. You teach others. But what was your first experience of selling?
It's a great question. So I need you to picture the scene. So I'm driving in my white Rolls Royce convertible. Okay. So I'm there. I've pressed my button. I've got the hood down. It's a beautiful summer's
How
day.
old are we?
I mean, like I'm cruising at this stage, Victoria. Okay, but I'm 5 years of age.
Love it.
Okay, so I've strapped my Paddington Bear into the seat next to me. Like I've got seat belt. It's 1986, 85, around that sort of summer of that year, and I'm driving on the patio outside, and I've got no care in the world. I'm whizzing around, and my dad was my dad was a toy salesman, so I was around a lot of toys when I was younger. So Christmas time was like incredible. I did believe in Father Christmas up until that year, actually, because my aunt, it's a different story, but my aunt told me it wasn't true. So I waited up and saw my dad doing all these presents. But anyway, getting back to the story. So yeah, I'm cruising in my white Rolls Royce, not a care in the world. I've got everything that I need. And I went into school that day with my new lunchbox, which my dad had got, which was a superhero lunchbox. So you got the drinks flask was like the handle, and it got two straps either side that connected to like the lunchbox bit underneath. So you'd unclip, drink your drink, and then you'd have your like sandwiches and your crisps and and your fruit and everything underneath. So I've gone into, would it have been play school then? I think with 5 or whatever.
Oh, you'd been in the first year of school, wouldn't you?
First year of
Year
school.
R.
So I'm in the first year of school, and I'm like literally walking, and people are like, "Oh, I love your lunchbox," I absolutely love it. So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I sort of went back that day, said to my dad, I said, "Look, can you get me more of these lunchboxes?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course I can." Like, he was buying them in bulk and selling them to like Woolworths and places like that at the time. So I was like, "Cool." I said, "Well, how many can you get? How many different things can we get?" So I went back in the next day, spoke with all the people that sort of said they wanted one, made a little note, found out how much they were for my dad. He was like, they're £3 each. So I said, well, how do you make money? Like, what would I do? Like, how would I go back to the people and do? He's like, well, if you can double your money, that'd be good. So I remember going back in, and I sort of said, well, it's £5.95 each. So then so I took them a little order, and I came back, told all my friends, like, look, you need to come in with your money from your mom. So it's all done on trust. It's like the next day they've come in, they've given me their £5.95, I've given them their lunchbox. there was all these different superheroes. And I said to my dad, I said, Dad, like, how do they do like girls ones? Where it's like Barbie and there's like the mermaid. He's like, yeah, yeah, we could do it. It's like great, but there's equal amount of girls as there are boys as well. So then I asked all the girls. So by week one, I'd closed everybody in the first year, and by week four, the whole school had got these lunch boxes. Even the older years, in my brother's year, and everybody. And my dad. The reason why I'd actually forgotten that story, Victoria, and when I was writing my book, although this story's not in that one, it'll be in the second one. I was chatting with my dad, and I was like, we were just having a nice little conversation. He's not been very well the last few months, unfortunately, but we're chatting about it. And he was like, he said, I always remember that time when you sold all them lunch boxes. He said, because I used to drive home in my car, and I would literally see all these kids in the local village with these lunch boxes. And the bit that I'd forgotten was that he said, and I always remember it because it actually cost me money in the end. And I was like, what do you mean it cost you money? He said, well, we'd agreed a price that was like, they were £3 each. That's what it was going to cost you. And you went off and made all this money, you doubled your money. And I was like, you were like 5. Because I was like, what was I, 7, 8, 9? He was like, no, honestly, you were in like the first year. He said, I remember you being 5 or 6. And he said, like, you came back after about 3 or 4 weeks with all this money. And I turned around to you and said, oh, Marcus, look, well done. But I've actually made a mistake. Those lunch boxes have cost a lot more. Because I brought them in bulk, I used to get a better price. But for you, it was just like, ad hoc individual ones. And he said, I needed more money off you. And you looked at me and you went, yeah, but Dad, you've always taught me principles. And we shook on that. So you told me £3. So that's a matter for yourself. And he said, I remember internally sort of going, I can't believe my little lad that he sort of like shook around and went, yeah, you're right, that's on me. And he said to me, I always remember it because I say it cost me money, but the principle was I'd always taught you shake on it, you look at each other in the eyes, you agree your price, and that's it. So I couldn't go back on it. So yeah, that was
That
my
is
first story in sales.
what a story. That is amazing. You were meant for this, weren't you? That's incredible. So there's probably a high percentage of entrepreneurs that are out there, and actually, to a certain extent, quite a lot of people that are sitting in sales roles, and they feel uncomfortable with selling. And I know I did many years ago. And let's be honest, often their reference point is, dodgy car salespeople or pushy and aggressive tactics that have been thrown at them. And those moments where it feels like you're actually really being persuaded to buy something that you really might not even want, to be honest. So when that's your kind of mental image of what a salesperson is, I feel like it's no wonder that people actually take a step back from it and almost detach from, the responsibility in their business to sell. So they just do nothing.
Mm.
Now, I know that's not your style, of course, and you teach sales in a way that is absolutely not pushy or it's not forcing people along. But how do you help people to reframe what's going on there in their mind so that sales actually feels more comfortable for them? It's more natural and perhaps even a little bit enjoyable, because quite often, and I hear it a lot, people feel like, sales makes them want to curl up in a ball and hide away, a bit like I used to. So let's have a little chat about that. How do you reframe all of that so it does feel a lot more comfortable?
Great question. So, first of all, there's many sort of levels and layers to that. But the first thing I sort of get people back to is that we are all salespeople. So I deal with a lot of coaches, a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs who just don't like the idea of selling for the exact same reasons that you just mentioned. So I always sort of ask them the question, which is, and I'll ask you here, so we're doing it, but can I ask a question? Do you like to buy things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we all do.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's like, so we all like to buy things, but we don't like feeling sold to. So what's that sort of bridge that we have to look at, which is, it's then the process, isn't it? And it's the thought and the mindset around it. And a lot of these things is always how you feel about sales yourself. So I take people back to, let's get really molecular and deep. The very world that we're from, the very earth that we're from, is made up of gold, silver, diamonds, emeralds. So the very like molecular makeup of our DNA, our structure, is value. We are
Mm.
we're from that world. So when we don't fear that, and when we understand that, you sort of like, if we go back to the very beginning, we traded goats for pigs, and just that's how we traded. So there was always that in us. And then I always say, go back to when you were a child. And like, for me, in that instance, with that story around the lunchboxes, result was like I just wanted to see everybody have a smile on the face, and if I could like make money at the same time, well, then that's like that was it's a win-win
Mm,
scenario. So whatever it is that you're doing in life, whatever you're selling, whatever your product or service is, it's your it's your responsibility to serve people at a
mm,
level where you ask great questions, you listen intently to the answers that you're getting, but on top of that, I'm often listening to the answers that people aren't giving me
I
to
like
then
that.
understand, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand their belief system around why they're not moving forward with me, or why they're staying stuck, or why they're not getting sales in their business. So I'm
Mm,
trying to understand what's the real truth behind it. What experience have you had before that you link into all of these other experiences, which is stopping you like take that next step and moving towards me. And I'm only going to get there, Victoria, by asking you questions and really
mm,
understanding you. If I
mm,
just try and sell you, then I'm out. Like
yeah.
you've disconnected from me. You're going to go back into your fear, reaction. I call it the monkey brain, the sort of, the fight or flight brain. Where you just think I'm being sold to. I've shut down. I'm closed. I'm not listening.
Yeah, a
So
little bit like the example I mentioned earlier about the guy trying to, sell me a house. It does absolutely close you off. So thinking about some of those questions, like what's a really good way of working out what those questions actually are for your audience?
Yeah, so I'm always in my earlier stage when I'm talking to people. I've got a process, and again, without plugging my book, it's not about plugging that at all. But I have got a framework that helps you navigate through a conversation, and that took a while for me to bring together because I did it naturally. I'm not somebody who would say, you
Mm,
must have a script, you must go through it. But if it's new to you and you want to learn the art, I actually like with AI was filming myself every time I was having a conversation, and there is a process. So initially I always go from a curious perspective because if I can't serve you, if my product's not for you, I don't want you as my customer.
yeah.
That's it. It's that simple. So I'm always prepared for a no. I'm always going for no, if you like. I'm always going for, I'm going to push you and ask you and question you. And I really want to understand that wherever you are, so whatever your pain point is, does my solution solve it?
Mm,
And if it does, then it is like my complete like responsibility. It's critical, it's crucial, whatever word you want to use, for me to get you to move forward to me because I
mm,
will get you that result. So often when I'm coaching companies, like individuals, I'm like, how much do you believe in the thing that you do? You've got to get like are you all in on what you do? Are you living proof of the thing that you're saying that you're doing? Are you doing that? Because if you're not,
mm.
I'm going to feel it. I'm going to hear it. And in this day of AI, like, look, I'm not for or against it. Like AI is amazing, but the one thing that AI is now doing more than ever is created even more confusion, and the human is craving humanness.
And do you know what? Is this going to go full circle? It's not a conversation for today, but I definitely feel that human to human conversation will win out because you can't do that with AI. So, that this
Always.
makes sales even more important and even more of a skill that people have to know about.
100%. And so the thing for me is this: if you're not all in on your thing, then don't expect to shift the person in front of you to buy your thing.
Mm,
So, like, often when I'm speaking to people, it's like, what's your mission? What's your passion? What was your desire? Why did you get into this in the first place? Tell me more. That question, if you're for anybody out there, that line, tell me more, is, it gives you chances as the business owner, as the salesman, just to sit back, listen. Tell me more about that, Victoria. I want to understand more about you. Why did you
mm,
get into marketing? What pushed you into that? What's your desire? What was your mission when you started? And I'm listing out for all those things. I want to open you up because I care, and I want to understand your business because I want to see lots of things. Am I aligned to you? Can I help you? Is this somebody I want to take on? Because look, here's the kicker for everybody out
mm,
there: you don't have to close people all the time. Like good salespeople, I don't go in to close everybody. In fact, my strap line is, real success doesn't come from closing a sale. It comes from opening a relationship. So I'm
absolutely.
like, if you in your business now, in your sales, if you've got a sales team, if it's you, just keep opening relationships,
Mm,
keep opening doors, keep talking to people, and when you're in the moment, when you're in the flow, that's where the conversation just leads to, okay, yeah, I could get this person the result. Then you can, see how you can help them. Then you've got, using stories, using testimonials, then you can shift them towards you. But if you try and sell, like if I get on, like, here's one for you. Here's one for you. How many people on LinkedIn just reach out to you and just sell you? Like, how many do you
Oh,
get at a time?
yeah, loads.
Like, does it drive you crazy?
Yeah, it depends, doesn't it? There's some that come through and you think, oh, I love that angle. That's really cool. But most people, 95, 99% of everyone that comes through, you think, I'm not even answering.
But they just pitch you. So they just like it's like same as if you go to a networking event or you go into a poor sales environment. They just like verbal diarrhea
Yeah.
you when they see you. It's like blah blah blah. I do this, I do that. Da, 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 da. It's like going back to your conversation earlier with the house. It's like you haven't even asked me any questions. You haven't worked out do I like drinking to then make that statement about drinking. Because if you'd have found that out, then when you use that, that would be a sell point, wouldn't it? But like you don't know me to say that.
This is
Don't
it.
don't go for the kill, like, wine and dine me
Yeah.
first, you know what I mean? So, not in a sleazy way, I don't mean it, it's from an authentic way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think, one of the things that you've just picked up on there is not everyone's your customer, and you get to choose, don't you? You can choose who you do and don't want to work with, as much as who you're wrong and right for. So that's something that's, something that we all should be taking on board. Now, just thinking about, and a lot of this boils down to mindset, a lot of this stuff, but I also want to tackle here identity and also self-worth of people that are actually doing the selling, especially when it's your own business, because they directly influence conversion rates. And I just want to unpack that a little bit. Now, you don't have to kind of go all in here, but I just would love to get a bit of an overview from you on your thoughts around that. And if you're open to, maybe share some of your story around identity and mindset and self-worth.
Yeah, so for me, great question. So for me, it goes back to, like, who you are and how you're turning up. So as a human being, for me, like, first of all, you've got to be your best self. So, like, what I realized, you touched on it earlier on when you opened up the podcast here today, that, I went through a really life-changing scenario a few years ago, and I had to build myself up from the ground up, from the inside out. And, like, over the years, I've, built businesses for myself and I've helped other people, but I was always sort of like, I was unconsciously thinking about what I was doing. So I wasn't aware of what I was doing. And sometimes I'd be like doing really well, and then all of a sudden I'm sort of like not, So for instance, I'll be going to the gym more and I'll be eating better, drinking better, thinking better without realizing that's what I was doing.
Mm,
And then I'd be doing all right, and then all of a sudden I'm not, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" And I'd be all those things have crept back in. So first of all, for me, it's fundamental that you, as a human being, have a routine, a structured routine,
mm,
and that was something that I didn't have for most of my career, up until the sort of like the last few years, and it's just catapulted, who I am, what I do, how I affect people around me. Because again, as I say, if you're in front of people in your business and you're stressed and you're, you know, slightly depressed and you're frustrated and you're not vibrating at a level that attracts people, then no wonder it's not going so well for you. Because you've got to be. For me, it's like it's just hand in hand with anything you're doing. There has to be a process in place where you are, connected to yourself. So for me, I've got a
mm,
routine in the mornings that is non-negotiable. And what that looks like for you is personal to you. But what I did do when I was, healing from my, um, you know, shoot it out my brain tumor, is I studied humans at a real deep level. And I studied all the greats in whatever it was that they did, whether it's female or male. I just sort of looked at, whether it was a marketing agency like yourself, I thought, what's she doing differently to everybody else? What's Tony Robbins doing different to everybody else? What's like Novak Djokovic doing to everybody? Why is he great and then getting better?
mm,
What are they
mm.
doing? And what's their desire? And everybody had got the fundamental thing that everybody had got in common. Take the Williams sisters in tennis. They were all really intentional about being intentional, meaning that they didn't leave anything to hope or chance or 50-50 decisions. It was like, okay, I want to be this version of myself. So what things do I need to do daily in order to achieve it? So they before they went to bed at night, they're visualizing like how their day went, what they need to do tomorrow. So the last time I always say to people, look, whenever I speak to people, it's like I've got no time, I've got no time, I've got no time. Okay, great. So I always say to people, look, would you work with me if I could get you like 10 minutes a day? Like if I could get you 10 minutes a day, is that something you'd like think that you take that strong, like, oh, 100%. So great. Well, I'm going to get you that. So that's 10 minutes a day, which then if you compound it over a week, it's 70 minutes. So 140, it's 280 minutes
Mm,
a month I'm going to get you. How does that sound? Sounds amazing. How are we going to do it? How we're going to do it is this. The first 5 minutes in the morning, you're not going to pick your phone up. And the last 5 minutes of the day, you're not going to look at your phone. I'm going to get you 10 minutes. That's how easy it is. Just stop doing that. Can you do that for me? They're like, well, yeah, I think I can. So right, great. So let's start there. And in those 5 minutes, so that's a 1%. I call it the 1% revolution. Okay. So then you start there. Everybody listening to this can, stop there for like looking at their phone for 5 minutes at the night, at the end of the day, and in the morning. So now we've got your 10 minutes. Now in those 10 minutes, how do we make those as impactful as we can? Because if I say to you today, if your little white lies to yourself are, I've got to go to the gym more and I've got to eat better and I'm drinking too much wine, I'm not going to ask anybody to stop doing that today because it's too much of a jump. But if we start with little 1%, then in 90 days' time, it's much easier to go to the gym for an hour or not drink that bottle of wine on a Monday night because now you start, it's called putting the discipline, getting the discipline
mm,
muscle working. So, like, these are little 1%. So, 5 minutes at either end of the day. Then, in those 5 minutes, start visualizing how did my day go today? How did I turn up? Like, was I the version of myself that I tell myself in my
mm.
head? And like more often than not, you got to be real with yourself here. You got to look in the mirror because you're not going to like the answer. Like that Michael Jackson, like start with the man in the mirror. It's like you've got to look and stare at it and go, okay, am I those things? Like get out of the way of the white lies because we've got our ego protecting ourselves. How did you show up? And then look at how you
Mm,
showed up and then what impact you had. And is that the same impact you want to have tomorrow? Because if it is, keep doing the same thing, and then in 90 days' time, whatever you are will be the same. Or do you want to make some change? Do you want to start getting better sales, better marketing into your business? Okay, what do I need to do? Who do I need to study? Who do I need to get around? Start reading about the people that are making an impact and making a difference and are at the top of their game.
mm.
Look, when I say at the top of the game, no one's ever cracked it, ever. You know that. We're in business.
And
Okay.
also, if you're looking at people at the top of the game, they might be way too far ahead. Like, come down to the person that's just ahead of you. And then once you get there, you can go to the next person that's just ahead of you. So you can just work your way up. And, as they say, success leaves clues. And if you're following on the people that are leading and doing really well, then you're onto something, aren't you?
100%. And just by creating that energy and that intentional thought process, now you're leveling the game up. Now
Mm,
you're starting to think about what you're thinking about. So then you
yeah.
can start going, okay, so what have I been thinking about so far that's not been serving me? And it might be, but I don't see myself as a salesperson because I had a really poor experience when I was 22 and da da da. But well, actually, I am a salesperson because has there ever been a time where you've like tried to sell your husband on a holiday or a handbag or a
Yeah.
dress or of course you have, we all have, and I,
And the
well,
kids
mine's
and
not
why
been
they
a
should
dress
eat
or a handbag.
properly.
Mine's not been a dress or a handbag, but whatever floats your boat, but and the kids are coming at you, I need this, I need that. So look, it's in it. We are salespeople naturally, okay? We're supposed to be. So now what you've got to do is find your congruency level, your authenticity level,
Mm,
whatever it is that you're doing, you should be the living embodiment of it. Okay. And then you shift people towards you if you can solve their situation. And if you can't, here's the power, here's the magic. Recommend somebody in your community that can
yeah.
solve their problem. Because what happens there is you build a even deeper trust. They're a customer for life. Even if they don't buy from you there and then, they'll still talk about how amazing you are. You've still provided a great service. And when they are ready for you, they'll come back. And
There's
the other thing,
always a win there, isn't there? If you can
always,
just you don't always have to make the sale. Think about, what are the alternatives? Can you give them a bit of advice? Can you recommend them on to someone else? What can you do for them that leaves them feeling like they've left with something more?
yeah, absolutely, because they're
Mm,
your biggest fans, and the amount of business I've done with people that didn't buy from me initially has been astronomical. It's led to amazing opportunities and business deals because I've just give them a level of service where they've gone, hey, I really like that guy. He didn't try and sell me. He generally listened to me, understood what I was trying to achieve. He wasn't the solution, but he had somebody that was.
Mm.
And they recommend, 3 people in their community that do need my service because, again, the other thing that a lot of people don't do when they've had that type of conversation with somebody and then couldn't serve them is they don't ask them, well, I know it hasn't quite worked out for us right here, right now, but who do you know that I need to know? Like who's in your phone book, your immediate, business arena that actually does need my service? And people go, oh, wow, great question. Actually, I had one, I use an example. I had one last year where I was doing some consulting for another company and I used that exact line and it led to his business partner who did like sort of do similar thing to what it was that we were um, trying to sell effectively, which led to a door being open for this company that I was consulting for that led to a six-figure contract like immediately, and that was all from
Mm.
a cold call and asking questions and finding out about them, and then actually saying, "Okay, fine, it's not right for you right here, right now, but do you know anybody that does need my thing?" And he was like, "Great questions. No one asked me that. Here's a contact."
Yeah,
And
it's
then we got
good.
on to it. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that is absolutely great. I can just see or visualize, should I say, all of these little light bulbs going on in all of the people's heads that are listening and watching us right now, because there's some amazing stuff that on the face of it feels quite obvious, but it's not until you actually hear it where you go, wow, that is going to make such a big difference. So while we're on this kind of subject and we've touched a bit on mindset there, let's just have a little chat about pricing, because I think that's also got a lot to do with mindset, because there'll be people that are way undercharging and they're probably afraid to raise their prices. Perhaps they feel like that's going to make them lose clients. Perhaps they feel like they're not going to win the deals if they do that. What's going on behind the scenes there with people that are feeling that way about their prices and not really charging perhaps what they're worth? And, what can we do to help them with that and move through it?
I mean, all amazing questions, and I'm smiling here for people that can't see me smiling because I had 2 coaching sessions this morning with clients exactly around that very subject, and it comes down to self belief. It comes down to like, how can I charge that amount? That's because we you get used to whatever you get, whatever it is that you're doing, and whoever you're around. So again, going back a few little segments here is like if you want to be better at sales, get into a sales community, get around people that are slightly above you, much further ahead, a little bit below you, because it starts opening yourself up to, oh, okay, so that person's charging that.
Mhm.
Well, I do the same thing as them, so I should be charging that. So it's just getting around people that are doing those things. So the conversation we had this morning, I don't know if this is going to answer the question or not. So I always say to people, try and visualize a ladder. Okay. So like, currently wherever you are, let's say you're at the bottom of that ladder from a pricing perspective. So let's just say you're a coach, you're doing one-to-one sessions and you're charging £50 an hour. Okay. Which is where I started, by the way. So, at the time I think no one's going to pay £50 an hour. So you start there, you're at the bottom of the rung, and then you do a few months of that and you realize you're just giving out a lot of time, a lot of energy, and you're seeing all these other people charging £1,000 and £150. And how are they doing that? But the difference between how they're doing that and how you're not doing it is they just charge that amount of money. They just
It's as
realize their
simple as that.
value. Yeah,
Make the decision.
just make the decision, and they went, okay, well, actually, and look, there is a slight process to this. So I always say to people, sometimes you have to, you know, a lot of people want to earn their stripes, and you all know this as well as I do. There's a lot of people in industries that profess to be up here and charge those prices, but actually they're not. They've
Yeah.
got no more experience than you or I or anybody else because here's the kicker for everybody: they're just another human being. We're all just the same. We come from the same the same minerals, the same earth, the same, whatever it is you believe in, the source, the oneness, God, created. We all come from the same thing. So we're all the same. No one's better, no one's worse, no one's above you, no one's below you. And that's how I've always been. So first of all, treat everybody as you would treat yourself. And just finding that value on yourself is, well, what's the difference, as I say, between them charging that and you not? It's just a belief system. So for me, it's like, look, you're at the bottom rung. So let's say the top of this particular mindset you're currently in is £150 an hour would be amazing for you. And then if you like put a structure in place, right, I'm going to start changing my prices, you may lose some people. That's fine. Okay. But then you're going to level up to the next
Mm.
rung where there's people in that rung that will pay that amount of money for your service. So it means you just get yourself more self worth. You start to believe in yourself. Then you get to the next level, and now you're at 150. And by the way, and again, you'll know this, Victoria, when you get there, you realize, oh, there's more levels to there's more rungs to the
Way
ladder.
more levels, way
Way
more
more levels.
levels.
And then you could change it to sort of, I'm using a coaching example here, but it's the same in any business. Then you've got, there's different ways to climb the mountain. So rather than one to ones, I shifted it to one to many, charge the same amount. All of a sudden, I've got more time because the one thing that
Yeah.
everybody says, well, I've got no time. So I'm like, I've got no time. I need to get my time back. So I
Yeah,
just
it's
shift.
how you leverage all of that, isn't it? And I think, when it comes to pricing, one of the key things that I always say to my clients is, look, start somewhere. And what we're doing is we sell at that price and then we get the evidence. You
Yeah.
get the evidence of how you've helped people, the results they've got, the testimonials, the case studies, and all of that jazz. And then once you've got that and other people start to see it, instantly it lifts your belief in what you do, but it also lifts the belief of others because they can see the social proofing and those that have gone before that you've helped. So I think that goes hand in hand. And as you say, then you can start thinking about leveraging different types of offerings and propositions to free up time, get more money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a belief system that ultimately, as you get up the ladder, it just changes. So I always say that, no matter where you are on that ladder and no matter where you are in the process, you'll get to whatever you think is unreachable. And then you get there and it's like emptying the bath plug, and then all of a sudden you're empty. You're like, well, I'm here now. So actually, I can do all the things that I said that I
Here we
couldn't.
go
I'm
again.
now doing. So what's the next level? Because as a human, you always want to get to that next level, whatever that looks like for you in your business, in your world. And then you just realize that. So, what I'm trying to say in this bit is no matter where you are and no matter who it is, I promise you, they all have imposter syndrome at whatever level they're at. Even the king will have imposter syndrome sometimes when he's got to, like, you know, have Donald Trump in for, there'll be or whatever, whatever it is, there'll be moments where he's going, am I really going to just like have this king and queen over and I'm going to do it? Yeah. No matter where it is you are in life, there'll be levels to the game. There always is.
Yeah.
So don't think that anybody else has got it figured out or cracked or 100% now. They're just at another level and you can get on that level as well. So it's a case of taking that first step up the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. And look for the evidence because it's there. You just need to look for the evidence and believe in yourself. Like, how did you get to where you are? You've earned your stripes. So, keep going.
Yeah.
So,
Great point.
yeah. So, just thinking back to reflecting on what I said a little bit earlier, Marcus, I mentioned that you've worked with Rob Moore's property team. We mentioned Jamie Stewart's Circle Network. And I know that you have worked really closely with Andy Harrington
Yeah.
in your current business, of course.
Yeah.
So, so looking kind of collectively at all of the work that you've been doing with all of those sales teams and entrepreneurs, of course, as well, what traits do you see in those people? And, what is it about them that is making them succeed more quickly than others? I know we've touched on quite a lot of that already, but if you were to kind of go, right, top three things, this is it.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, they invest in themselves and they invest in people around them. So, and that's key. So, all the people that you just mentioned there, and there's some other people that I'm working with that are, industry leaders in their field, and they're getting people like me in to. They're always leveling up. So they've already got, like, if you mentioned Rob, so they've already got a really good business, and they could easily just kick back, and just, go and, right,
Mm,
I'm doing all right. But they're always looking for that little 1%. So that's the key thing in all of this, which is why I went, talk about the 1% revolution is no matter where you are, what one thing can you add to improve the
mm,
situation? And sometimes it's actually taking one thing away. So it might be that you've got a bad habit that's creeped in, might be a thinking loop that's not serving you. It might be that you're not making as many calls as you were before or going to as many networking meetings because you've got a bit complacent. So that's what I mean about holding the mirror up. So all of these people fundamentally are looking in the mirror, meaning they're going, okay, what do I need to do to get that next tweak, that next 1%? Who do
mm,
I need to bring in? Who do I need to learn from? What impact do I need to get? So I say that. So the fundamental thing for me is they're always looking and searching for the next thing. They're not just sitting back and getting complacent because,
Yeah.
again, as you know, as soon as you do that, whether that's in business, whether that's in life, things start to go the other way, don't they?
They do. And again, your energy's not there, is there? Is it? So we've had this conversation on many occasions about energy. And if you just let things fall and it takes your kind of mindset down with it, your energy's on the wrong level and nothing good comes of that. You know, it's like for like. Bad energy brings more bad energy. Great energy brings more great energy.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
you only get that from being your true self, and that's why, going back to what we said earlier, the more little 1% you can do to shift towards being your true self, the better, because we're all just behind a lot of white lies. So like, I'm gonna, as I've already said, going to the gym, drinking less wine, eating less food. I'm gonna make more phone calls. I'm gonna go to that network meeting, and the more times you don't, the more time your fight or flight is
Yeah.
running you, ruling you, which then allows you to just stay in fear and stay in stuck mode because you don't want to actually face up to the music that you're not doing the things that you should be doing that's going to help elevate you. So that's what I mean about doing the 1%
Mm,
and actually shifting that. And the more truer you get to yourself, the more that you vibrate at a higher energy, at a higher
mm,
level, and the more that your world and your path just start becoming that version of you that you did dream of. So I always say go back to like the 9-year-old version of you, like, what did that look like? Because there was no BS in the way, there was no stress, there was no mortgages, no, all those things. But so go back to that 9-year-old version. What version were you? And more
mm,
often than not, it was love
yeah.
and light. It was energy, happy vibration. Just running around, that air in your hair. Just smiling, just full pelt, full. Or I call it all in. You're just all in. Yeah, there's no little grey thing over here or black thing. Oh, you can't do this. You're not good enough to. You are just all in.
We're all
Okay,
in. Love that.
that's the
Love that.
version, Victoria. Sorry, that you are destined to be. So the more you can get back to your trueness and connect to that, the more you're going to live that destined life that you're
Yeah, that's
always
brilliant.
meant to live.
So much coming out of that. Think about the 1%, hold the mirror up to yourself. Think about your 9-year-old self. There's so many little gems in there. Like, we're going to all have to listen back to this episode several times to kind of get those bits of gold back out. It's brilliant. So let's have a little old chat about well-being, because we've spoken about it quite a lot throughout this episode. Um, well-being, it's burnout, and the impact of those things on business performance, because I know that you're a massive advocate for mental well-being and you've lived consequences, you've been through it. What do you think, what's that one thing that business owners don't realize about their mental state and what impact that kind of has on sales? um or to put it another way, what's going to happen when they do stay in that stuck place that you mentioned, where something's quite off with the health, but you just keep pushing on regardless?
Well, look, I haven't got a crystal ball in all this, so I can only use my own story in this in a way of answering this. So, myself, I had a retail business, and in 2019, I wanted to get out of it in 2012. In 2019, I'm still there. I'm not doing all the 1%. I'm just pushing through. I'm stressed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry deep down inside. I'm not the version of myself that I want to be. I don't want to stare in the mirror long enough to see the reflection to own up to the fact that I'm not any of the things that I destined to be or even thought about I wanted to be, and I was broke. I was broken physically, mentally. I wasn't just. I was exhausted.
Mm.
So for me, I was waking up with that anxiety ball on your chest, on that your stress around your neck. Don't know if anybody understands that. I'm sure many people
I
do.
bet they
But
do. Yeah.
so look, I want people to know, look, I'm living proof that you can get through that, and I'm also somebody. I'm not just trying to tell you to do these things without any sort of substance behind it. And I'd actually got to the point, Victoria, that I was ready to chuck the towel in. So I was literally like dreading going to work. I was dreading coming home. I was in a loveless relationship, and I had been for many years. And we have 3 beautiful kids that I share, so I've got no regrets around that. But I was broken, and so in answer to your question, for me, if you don't fundamentally get these things right, it can lead to that frustration, to just hitting the bottle more, because the more that you don't live your destined self, your true self, the more that you don't tap into, your well-being and understanding that from a really deep level, the more your monkey rage, as we talked before. And what that means is you just stay in fight or flight and you just do more of what you're doing, meaning
Mm,
you do more of the drinking, you do more of the bad habits, you do more of the bad thinking. And until I got aware of that, what with myself, when you start thinking about the actual things that you're saying to yourself in the quiet times, so that's when you start thinking about what you're thinking about. That wasn't a good chat that I was having. I didn't realize, but it was chat that was like, "You're not good enough. Who are you? Who do you think you are?" All these things. I was like, "That's my loop. That's the record that
yeah.
I've been playing," and that affects you. That, like, just on a really deep molecular sort of level, like that just affects your energy,
Mm,
and it brings you down. So then, no wonder when I looked at my business wasn't doing very well, and my relationships around me weren't doing very well. The relationship with myself wasn't very good. I was like, well, no wonder, because I'm not. The things that I'm telling myself internally are not good. So your brain and your body will believe what you tell it. So it's really critical that you tell it the right things and you do the
yeah.
right things. So you can't tell it one thing and then do the other. That means you've got to be aligned. So you've got to, like, be telling it the right things, but then doing those right things.
Following
And as you,
through.
and as you compound those, then that's when I say that in 90 days, whatever it takes 21 days to form a habit, 66 days for it to be an autonomous habit, meaning it just becomes automatic, and then 90 days for you to be that version of yourself. So all of this is work. So, like, if you're listening
Yeah.
to this podcast because you want to just get a quick fix, then, like, sorry, it's the wrong thing. It's
Mm,
90 days of work, but then you're that version. So then when you get there, then you can level up again and level up again. So the initial bit
yeah.
is doing the work.
Yeah, so when you think about that, imagine what is achievable in a year if you level up every 90 days. Imagine what you could get to in a year if you just knuckle down right now. The other thing, just to touch on there, because it's about well-being, burnout, and that kind of thing, but that's going to have a massive impact on the performance of the business. And we're talking sales today, but
Mm.
also it has an impact on sales, marketing, finance, the people that you're working with. It has a profound impact all around on a business. But look, let's talk about sales because that's your thing. So,
Mhm.
how does that manifest in sales if you are below par?
Well, you don't attract the right people. You don't attract business. People don't want to buy from you because you're not magnetic. You're not somebody that draws people in, and you're not living the very thing. For me, I'm selling a heart-based sales process, which fundamentally is just like you being your true, authentic self and getting out of the way of your bullshit. So just get out of the way of all this limiting self-belief, doubts that you've got around yourself and around your service. Shift them out your way. So I help you understand that process, get out of the way of yourself, charge the value that you should be, and more importantly, deliver that message, that product, that service, that version of you that you want them to be. From that level. So if you're not those things, if you're at a low energy, as we've already talked about, if you're not,
Mm,
if you're not living that version of yourself, then your sales aren't gonna, your sales are not going to be there either. And as we all know, if you've got no sales, your mindset's rubbish. And if you've got no mindset and you've got no sales, then everything starts going that way pretty quickly, and it can
mm,
spiral. So it's not just like, this isn't like something you should do. This is essential. Like, it is,
yeah.
I know I've used this word. It is critical that you put this in place, because I want to help as many people be their best versions so that they can serve as many people in their business and their service as physically possible, so that when they get to the end of their journey, they can look back and smile and go, I lived the version of myself that I was destined to live, that I should have
Hallelujah,
lived.
brother.
You know what I mean? And I mean that, like, I hear this on different podcasts and stuff, but it was something that, I got there when I was healing, and I wasn't guaranteed the next second, the next minute, the next hour. So you have to get really present. So here's probably going back to something that people can do that gets them, 1% pretty quickly in the mornings, because I think we skirted over this, is get really grateful for what you have got,
Mm,
for who you are. Be really, like, start your morning in that first 5 minutes. Now that I've just gained your 5 minutes because you're not looking at your phone, with being grateful. And for me at
yeah.
that time, it was, oh, I can move my hands. I'm alive. I've got 3 beautiful kids. Whatever that is for you, or however small it is, it's good. Be
Do you know
appreciate
what? Do you know what? One of the things, so I started doing that every morning, just doing a little bit of a ten things that I'm grateful for. And when I first started doing it, I found it really hard because you feel like you should be grateful for, these massive, great big things that you've got in life. But it would come down to, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to sit here and have a cup of tea in a warm
it.
house. And it's
Mm.
amazing that when you actually think about what you're grateful for, it is just sometimes the simplest of things, just hearing little footsteps on stairs and all of those wonderful little things. And when you start actually connecting with what you're grateful for, it really does raise the energy, doesn't it?
100%. So they're just like 100%. Put your hand on your beating heart and breathe into it. Do it now. Wherever if you're not driving your car, feel the beat of the heart. You're not. You know, I don't want to get morbid at this stage, but there's 1 million people around the world tonight will go to sleep and they won't wake up tomorrow. That's just the stats. So, and I guarantee, always say to people, like, I could guarantee you, no matter how you're feeling at this moment, if I could wake any one of them up tomorrow, God rest their souls tomorrow, and say, hey, like whatever shit you were going through or whatever shit you think you're going through, do you want another crack at this? They would all snap your hand off. And
Mm,
all of them, if I could also ask them the same question, say, look, what would you do differently? They'd be like, I'd get out of the way of myself. I'd stop worrying about what other people think and I'd just go all in. I'd play all out because the truth is, Victoria, I haven't had any evidence that would like suggest this is any different. I haven't met anybody who's lived this life and then come back. Okay. So this is it. So you can either be the half-assed version of yourself that you keep pretending that you want to be and you're not, or you are, or you could just be the version that you were destined to be. And it just starts today, just little 1% to start moving in that direction and watch the compound effect. And
mm,
in 90 days' time, and as you said, in 12 months' time, you won't even recognize yourself. But I guarantee you, when you look in the mirror, you'll be smiling at yourself and you'll be smiling from a place of love, from contentness, because you will be that version that you wanted to be, and your
mm,
bank account will look better, and your friendships will be better, and your relationship with your partner will be better, with your kids will be better. And I had a conversation the other day, taking it away from all this with one of my best friends, and he rang me and he said, mate, I've really let myself down this morning. I said, tell me more. And he was like, oh, I've dropped my lads off today, and they're only young. They're like 5 and 7, and he's in a bit of a rush, and it's raining, and he ran off, and I told him if he runs off, he's going to fall in the mud, and he did. And he said, I got really frustrated. I didn't shout at him. He said, but I just sort of like, I was short with him, and I was annoyed with him,
yeah.
and I was like, and he said, I feel really bad. And I went, listen, the fact that you've rang me up to have this conversation tells me everything I need to know. Like, it's all like, we're all human and we all mess up. But the fact that he's consciously aware of how he reacted and all those things, I was like, look, it's an easy fix, this, right? He's 7 years of age. When you pick him up from play school tonight or school or whatever it is, just tell him what you've just told me. Just be real. Just
Mm,
don't sugarcoat it with like, I'm going to apologise. Apologise for what? He doesn't understand it. Tell him why you did what you did. Tell him you were straight. Tell him all the things. I
yeah.
was rushing. It's not your fault. But what I do want you to know is this: I love you with all my heart, and I'm so glad that you're my son. So I'm sorry for the way I reacted. These are the reasons why. Tell him, give him the knowledge, and give him the biggest hug of his life. And I promise you, it will all be okay. And the reason why I'm telling that story is that he was trying to put something into it, and I won't tell him this, and I'll just say sorry. And I was like, just be yourself, just be honest, just be real. And when
Yeah.
you can go at that level, your sales will increase. When you come from a place of love from your heart, your desire is to get everybody to win, I genuinely want you to succeed, Victoria. Right? I come from that place. So if my service and my product can help you and you need it, I'm going to make sure that I do everything in my power that you
Mm,
move towards me, because I'm going to get you that result. And there's so many people out there that won't. So if I don't get you over the line by challenging you from a place of love, by asking you great questions, by finding out about you and where I can I call it like the pain and the gain room, so I've got to find out your pains and identify those and try and work out where it is that you're going. If I can bridge that gap, then it's a crime if I don't get you to move towards me. Does
yeah.
that make
Yeah.
sense? Because
Absolutely.
you could go to
So
somebody else who doesn't get that result, and then I've put you back in action.
yeah, yeah. So just kind of reading, not reading between the lines, but just enhancing and thinking about what you've said is this idea that you're kind of saying you are selling who you are rather than what you do and what you sell. And that's quite a big reframe, isn't it? You're selling who you are, you're selling you, you're selling, your authenticity.
Yeah, completely. I mean, people buy from people. So, go back to the beginning. We've traded cattle and beans and all these things, and you brought from people, and you still do. So, I know I've worked with a lot of companies over the last 12 months, and they've been really scared of like AI and this, and it's going to look create all the, lose loads of jobs. It's like, actually, for me, and I was saying it from the start, it's just the better AI gets, the better the human gets, meaning the more humanness we want, we crave it. We crave having this connection. We
Yeah.
crave having more hugs. We crave that more love. So the more you can put yourself in front of another human being and serve them from that level, the more they're going to be drawn to you. The more they're going to want to understand more about you and trust you. Because
Mm,
that's the thing that AI has done for me is well, it's not just me. It's a fact. People's trust levels are at an all-time low,
I agree.
right? And
Absolutely.
that's been coming over the last sort of 20 plus years. But when I started out 25 years ago, you had one conversation and people brought from you. Then these things came along and people could Google everything, and then it got to about 3 touch points. Then social media got bigger. Then it was 6 touch points. Then it was 9. It's now 13.
Mm.
Currently it's 13, and that's going upwards. It's probably changed to 14, 15 now, meaning that people need to see you on social media, need another conversation. They need more of this.
They do, and actually, one of the things that I believe and I teach and I see and I've evidenced is that it is when people see you on video, through experiences, through conversation, it's the human bit that accelerates the process and accelerates the sale, because we're not hiding behind email, social media, and all of that stuff. So it is all of that human contact that will accelerate the sale, and that's getting even more important because of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you've hit the nail on the head there. I'm not suggesting that email and text and all that aren't important. Touch points are, but like people, you've got to see your face on it. People have to go, right, this person's real. I trust them. I believe them. And that means you warts and all. Like you can Google me
Yeah.
and I've got a footprint on there. I'm the real deal. I'm all the things that I say I am. And if at any stage what I've said today and I wasn't, you're out. And if you got went along and saw like a digital version of me and my voice was slightly out from my speech, you're out. Your trust level's gone. It's
Mm.
it's at a really small molecular level that people are. So that's what I meant about the human gets better, because we're looking for those. We're looking for a reason to not trust you. So you've got to do everything as a
Yeah.
human, meaning you've got to be your real, open, authentic self, not a pretend version, not what you think
Mm.
someone wants you to be, yourself. And what'll happen is you'll lose some of the clients that you have got, but you'll just attract in abundance all the clients that you're supposed to have, all the
Absolutely.
ones that want and get you, your people, your tribe.
Your people will come your way. Absolutely. So listen, let's get into this. The book. So first of all, to say it here live while we're together, bloody congratulations on the launch of your book. I was so happy when I saw the message come through from you saying that, the book is out there. And as soon as you sent that message through, I got my copy straight away. So, absolutely incredible. And dearest listeners, please do go and grab your copy, available on Amazon. Let's just get into that. So, The Heart of the Sale is the title. Now, just tell me, what was the problem that you were actually trying to solve for people when you actually wrote that? And if you were to have that one message for people to walk away with from that book, what is it?
Yeah, so the one problem that I was trying to solve was, people feeling that they were stuck or they couldn't get sales because they didn't like the idea of sales. We touched on it a bit earlier. It was around, reframing that for people. And actually, hopefully, we've done that on this podcast, which is we're all salespeople. We are. It's in us. So for me, it was like, if you're feeling stuck because you feel inauthentic to, or you don't like the idea of sales, then pick this book up. and read it, and it's not just about sales. In fact, it's everything but in regards to its mindset, it's my story, it's about being your authentic self, which I know we've covered today on this podcast.
Yeah.
So the message really was, look, you know, reframing what you see as a salesperson, how you feel sales are, fundamentally is in that book. Going back to the fact that we are all salespeople. We're our own DNA is from gold, silver, and diamond. So it was just shifting people's belief.
Mm.
And then there's a process in there, as I said to you earlier, which was about, actually how do you then do it at a level that makes you feel congruent and authentic, and there's routines and there's stories in there. So yeah, so fundamentally that was what I was trying to achieve with this book.
Amazing. Amazing. So, for those watching, just give us a flash of the cover.
Oh
I know
yeah,
it's right by your
yeah.
side.
It is, it is, it is. Funnily enough, I've
There
got a copy just here. So here
there
it is.
it is. So,
So,
The Heart of the Sale, 7 Steps to Embrace the Art of Serving Over Selling by the fabulous, it doesn't say that on the book, the fabulous Marcus Elwell.
yeah, well, it does somewhere. I'm sure it's got fabulous in there as well. And in my book, by the way, and this is what it's all about in regards to what we're just talking about. So back it up. I've got pictures in there with me with my kids where we're doing the wolf run. My girlfriend's in there. There's me when I've just come out of the hospital. I've literally just had my head cut open. I've got a big scar on the back of my head. As Victoria knows, I had my head cut open. My nickname with my family was Uncle Buck. I'd put a lot of weight on through steroids, and it was during the COVID time, so I didn't get to see family and friends because people weren't allowed to visit. But that picture's in there, warts and all, like, because I don't want it to just look like, oh, here I am, I've done pretty well, you should listen to me. Like, I've messed up
Mm,
personally, businessly. I've had a brain tumor. I was like broken. I had to learn to walk again properly. I had to learn to talk again properly. So all of the things that I've talked about today and all the things that are in my book is a blueprint from, like, inside out. How do you rebuild yourself at any stage of life, whether you're at the beginning of your career, whether you're at the end of your career? Like, it's never too late. There's a question that I get asked, why is it too late for me? 100% never, ever, ever.
mm.
Like, you just got to start today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Just coming off the back of that, we've had many conversations, but the one thing that I always remember you saying is that you don't want anyone to reach the end of their life thinking, what if?
100%.
And that really kind of always rings in my ear. Like, no one wants to get there, get to the end of their life and go, oh, but what if? So talk to me about that. Tell me about your thinking and your beliefs around that.
Yeah, so again, for me, because of where I was with my illness, all I can tell you is that, all the things that you think you want in life, material wise, when your health is taken away from you or possibly taken away from you, I can guarantee you that all of them mean nothing. Like, literally, all you want is
Mm,
experiences. And all my mind did was remembered all the holidays that I'd been on, all the great people I'd met, all the great conversations and experiences that I had. It wasn't what car you were driving, it wasn't what watch was on your wrist. You just realize in that moment that there is no amount of money that values your humanness, your life here, your existence. And I remember saying to my surgeon, is there an amount of money that I can give you that's going to guarantee that I can be here? And he just looked at me and said, no, I've got, he didn't do this in a big headed manner. He sort of went, look, I've got 2 Ferraris and I haven't driven the first one yet because I'm always fixing people. He was like an angelic type of person. And, and his whole purpose here was to serve people like me and save my life. Cut tumors out of my body. That was his purpose. So for me, in those moments, I thought, well, if I do go now, did I live the life that I wanted to lead? Was I the version of me that I wanted to be,
yeah.
or was I the version that I was destined to be? And looking in the mirror, I was like, yeah, okay, look, I've done some good things and I'm okay. And I've had some I've done some not so great things. Not saying I'm a wrong gun or anything like that, but, like, there's lots of things that we can all look at ourselves and go, yeah, perhaps with all eyes ahead on, or a different sort of cap on, you going, I probably wouldn't have done that. So, but I sort of went, did I crush it? Like, if I went now, would I be
Mm,
like, yes? And I was like, No, but that it didn't do that for me. So that was why I went on my journey of self-discovery and, okay, well, how do I make sure I've crushed it? How do I make sure that, like, what's that thing for me? And for me, it was I wanted to serve people. When I look back, as like, what's been the best times? It was when
Mm.
when I was driving my Rolls Royce as a 5-year-old, and then I'm selling a load of lunch boxes to everybody, putting a big smile on their face and helping them feel better about themselves, connecting, relationship building, helping them get over their self belief. So for me, it's like, I'm going to spend every day I've got from this day till whenever that will be, making sure that I'm everything that I want to be. And meaning I eat well, I think well, I train every morning, I do cold water therapy, I do breath work. So I add all the little fundamental things that I need to put in there to make sure that I turn up as my version of myself that I need to be. Because the one thing for me, Victoria, was like, if I do meet the guy on the pearly gates right here, right now, and he turns around to me and says, "Hey, how do you think you got on?" And I go, "Yeah, I think I did all right." And he looks at me and he goes, or she looks at me, and they go, "Hey, yeah, you did. You did do all right." And you're like, but it's that like look where it's like, but you could have done better. And like, it's like, what if you'd have just took that decision? What if you'd have just pushed through that next conversation? I say to people, pick up the phone. Your next sale, your next piece of business is in your community already. I guarantee
Mm.
you. Don't need to spend £1 million on a social media ad. You don't need to have a big sort of super duper webinar thing. Like, all those things help, like 100%. But your next
Yeah.
immediate business is already in your community.
Yeah,
You
I
can
100% agree with that, Marcus. It is. They are like, your community is your low hanging fruit. The other stuff, you work them into your community. But if you want to get a sale today, you're absolutely right. They are in your community right now.
So those things for me, it's like, pick up the phone, send an email, send a text, send a WhatsApp. There's a minute WhatsApp video thing. So send a little personal video note to somebody that you sent an email to or a quote to, and you've not heard back. Reach out to them, show them the love.
Mm.
Right. So for me, it was me going back to this, person on the gate, St. Peter, St. Michael, St. whoever, God, going, yeah, but like, when you went back there and you didn't do that, you could have lived that life, and you just sort of look over to the left, and there's like a spirit version of the version of you that crushed it.
Oh, you've thought this through, haven't you? You really have.
And I was like, that would be for me. I'd be like, no. So it was that, what if I'd have just did this? What if today, I don't know Marcus Elwell from anybody, right? But I quite like one thing he said. I'm going to implement that and I'm going to see where it takes me. What if that just leads to your next sale, to your next best conversation, to the next love relationship, whatever it might be? What if?
What
So the
if?
challenge would be, pick one thing from today, or maybe not from this one, from one of Victoria's other amazing, podcasts that she's done. Pick one thing and implement it and see where it takes you. But don't look back in 40 years' time wishing, what if? What if I'd have just done that? What if I'd have just listened
Absolutely.
to Victoria's advice and it took me somewhere else?
So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's great stuff. I just want to, you've mentioned your personal situation with your brain tumor, etc., and I just want to call out the stuff that you do for brain tumor research. I want you to just tell us all what you're up to right now, because there's a lot going on, isn't there? So just share with everyone, like, what are you up to right now?
Really good question. So I'll start with, earlier on in the year, I trekked the Sahara Desert from one side to the other. I do a lot I've done the high rocks a few times. So I actually had a conversation last night with a couple of people where I went, I just need to do something like even bigger next year. So we did the fire, we're calling it the fire and ice. So we did the Sahara Desert. So we're actually looking at doing something in Iceland next year. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I'm going to do something in the ice. Whether it's going to be sort of like a marathon in the Arctic Circle, I don't quite know. It's going to be something like out there. I always like to challenge myself massively, as you know. So I haven't like actually booked something in right here, right now. But the two people that I was with last night, we're just going to get up a mountain and get in a lake and stuff like that. So a lot of my training, a lot of the things that I'm doing all the time are keeping me primed for anything that I want to take on. As you know, I do CrossFit. So that keeps you functionally moving, functionally fit. So, for instance, and I know this wasn't a question, but we're on holiday in August, and I'm doing like walking handstands on the beach with my kids, and like I've got other mom and dads coming. So how can you do that? It's like, I'm not saying you have to do CrossFit, but it keeps you functionally fit so that I can do the next thing. So yeah, I don't want to say to you that I've got something booked in, because I haven't yet, but I'll be doing something around mid next year. I always do something big for branching my research, and I'm looking forward to. You'll be one of the first to know, because I'll get you to sponsor me, hopefully.
Absolutely. I'm here for that. Absolutely. No problem at all. So, one more question before we get into our next little section: time. So, I hear it all the time. You hear it all the time. I haven't got time to do this. I haven't got time to do that. Like, so many excuses. And I think time is one of the things that everyone actually just kind of, sits behind and uses that as a massive reason why they don't get shit done.
Mm.
So, I mean, you've got a family, as you said, you've got your 3 lovely kids, you're running a business, you're doing your charity work, you're training all the time. Like, how do you make it all happen? How do you stop getting in your own way and feeding yourself that bullshit of I don't have time?
Yeah, so I go to bed earlier and I get up earlier. So, fundamentally, that's it. I literally I make sure I'm not on my phone late at night. I'm not on it in the morning. So you start small. So I don't ask anybody to do anything big, because you won't keep it up. The nature of the beast is that
Mm,
you won't, some will. There are, like, a percentage of people that, need all or nothing, like cold turkey, effectively. But the majority of us, we've got to start creating that muscle memory. We've got to start controlling that, that discipline muscle. Like anything, you want to go get a six pack, you've got to go to the gym every day. It's not going to happen on one session. And it's the same with your discipline muscle. So you've got to start getting control of yourself. So start with your 5 minutes. Then it leads to when everything just starts working better. It's much easier then, like, do half an hour before you go to bed, and then an
yeah.
hour. So then you start getting time there, and then I just get up. I've got a routine in morning. I get up earlier, and I could start earlier. So, you know, before we got into this podcast today, the last few months I've been working. My home feels like a hotel. I go out to teams. I've got my own training company where people come to my 3-day events. So I'm in a lot of hotels. So I haven't got like an hour and a half to do my gym session. So I've got a, like, smaller version of my routine, which is I call it my non-negotiable. So it's a
Mm,
routine that
yeah.
involves getting up, I do some movement, I do some breath work, and you can do it together. So when people go, well, I haven't got enough time to do it, it's like, just do them together. So do your movement, be conscious about how you move. It doesn't mean you got to go and do like 100 press ups. And I'm not saying that. Like, I've got a movement that's like a flow, where you're just moving the body for about 5-6 minutes. And in that movement, I'm also doing my breath work, which just grounds me, gets me really present. At the same time, I'm also thinking about how grateful I am that I can move my body. So I'm doing my gratefulness, gratitude thinking at the same time. And then I get into my cold. So I go and have my warm shower, and I finish with 2 minutes in cold. And again, just do a bit more breath work there. So it's about 10 minutes is my
Mm,
non-negotiable routine. Now, when I've got more time, and when I'm at home and I've got a bit more, then I can go to the gym and spend an hour, and I can go for a walk. But sometimes I haven't got that luxury. So then don't not do it, because then the chimp starts raging again, and their fight or flight. And then you're like, oh, well, I haven't done it for a few days, so I might as well just not, and then you get back into the default setting. So, like, that's why I say, just give yourself something achievable, bite-sized, items of everything that it is that you want to do, whatever you need to add, whether it's the exercise, well, it will be all those things, eat better, so it's just all the little ones.
all
And
the little
there's
ones.
sometimes, Victoria, where, one falls away a little bit, and I'm not going to lie to you, but because you've got so many others, you start doing the other one a bit more, and then
Up.
the other one,
Keeps
yeah,
going.
they just prop you up. So, I'm not saying you got to do all of the things all of the time, because we're human, and some Christmas parties are going on, and nativity, it's a lot. If I told you my schedule over the last few months, it's a lot, but I love it, because I'm doing what it is that I want to do. I'm helping, I'm serving people, and I've got my routine. So even when I don't do the long mileage on it, I've still done the thing, which means that when I have got the time, you'll go and do it rather
Yeah.
than not do it.
Mm.
Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about loads. This is packed full of absolute gems. So, in summary of all that good stuff that we've spoken about, could you set the listeners and obviously the viewers a little task that they can go and do that will help them to progress and get some success with their sales? What can they do?
Yeah. So the thing that I would suggest to do, the quick win is for me, well, if you're looking for a quick win, so I'm going to answer these in two things. Reach out to your community, right? Reach out to your people already, show them some love. And that means picking up the phone. That means reaching out with the WhatsApp message, said all those things, already that will get you a quick win. And the very thing to do to start moving you towards this is write down three things that you are grateful for right here, right now. Don't compare yourself to one of your peers, one of your family members, one of your friends that you think's crushing it. Because the truth is, most of them deep down aren't. They can
Mm,
look like they are, but they're not. So start with three things that you are grateful for. Right, get really present. Do a little bit of breathing. So, like for me, whenever I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, whenever I'm not sure, I just concentrate on the breath. So there's lots of different breathing apps out there. So the easiest one to just get into right here, right now, is just consciously breathe in through the nose, and as you breathe out, do it like PS lips. So and just do that for a couple of minutes. And what you're trying to do is breathe out slightly longer than you're breathing in, so about 4 seconds in if you can, and roughly about double going out. And just get really present and be
mm,
thankful for what you've got, and start there. And what will happen? I know it can sound like, well, what's that going to do for me? How's that going to help me? What it's going to do, it's going to get you really present. It's going to get you into the present mind. And when you're present, you're not in a fearful mind. Okay. So what that
mm,
means is that you can start making better decisions. You can start processing some of the stuff that you've not been processing, and you start to think about other things. Like start creating opportunities. So you start thinking about, actually, who can I ring? How can I do? You start thinking about possibilities, because you're
mm,
getting out of what you're doing here is you're getting out of the fear mind, and you're getting into the present mind, the possibility mind, the
mm,
real you. You're getting away from the monkey version, and you get the ego version of you, and you're getting into the actual Marcus Elwell, the Victoria. What is it I'm trying to achieve? So as daft as it may sound, just doing that process in the morning, 3 times a day, consciously thinking about it, you'll start to catch the things that you're thinking about as well, and then you can start shifting what those are. So if they're not serving you, one of the biggest wins I say to people, again, a little 1% revolution: add one good thing, take one thing away. It's often something you're thinking, it's often something you're telling yourself, and you just change it. So here's how you do it. Rather than saying I can't, I can, I will, and I am. So whatever it is, I am great, I will do this, I deserve to be this. Start repeating those things,
mm,
changing those things of I can't to I can, and just see the shift over 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, 21 days. And everything will start feeling better. You'll be more congruent. You'll feel better. You'll relax. As I said, I know we said it before, but you just things around you will be better. I can't tell you what that is for you right here, right now,
it will
but just
happen.
it
It will
will
happen.
happen, and then it makes it easier to do the next bit and the next bit.
Yeah, so you have got so that's excellent advice. I think breathing, I know we all breathe, but doing breath work changes a lot. It can get you out of all sorts of situations. I mean, even if you've had too many glasses of wine, do some great breathing and it's amazing how clear your head becomes, and you're oxygenating your blood and your energy raises. So yeah, that's absolutely brilliant advice. But thinking back to sales, you have got a little quiz, haven't you, that people can tap into,
Yeah.
that will help them maybe to see some of the gaps that they've got and what they can do to improve in like the world of sales itself. So if we could get that link for the show notes, that would be amazing. And so if anybody wanting to go and visit your website and check out that quiz, we'll make sure that there's a link there for
Yeah.
everyone to do that.
Absolutely, and we were talking about earlier on, and there was something that came up. So there's another link that I'm going to share to that, which is more around sort of like where you're at the moment as well. So I'll add another link to you, which is a sort of free bonus for people, just
Fabulous.
to again see where you are, where it is you want to be, and how you're going to get there by implementing some small structured steps.
It's Marketing karaoke time. Now, it's a bit playful, but there's a deep reason behind marketing karaoke time on this podcast because music has got an incredible ability to anchor memory and emotion. So I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, Marcus. I'm sure you have, where a song comes on and you suddenly go right back to somewhere, feeling, thinking, remembering, and almost like reliving a moment. And it doesn't really take a lot of trying when it comes to music. And I find that it works beautifully with learning as well. So if we can connect with an idea or a lesson or a moment of clarity from a song, then your brain's got a way of retrieving it. So it becomes really, really sticky. So when you're driving in the car and that song comes on, hopefully you'll remember the conversation or something we've said. It can shift you back. So that's what I wanted to do in the marketing karaoke session, is make sure that everyone's anchored to what we've been talking about today. Now, I have a song that I associate with you, Marcus, and are you ready for it? Because I know you love it. Are you
Go on.
ready?
Yeah.
I am the one and only. You know it's your song. So,
I
we've
forgot all about that. I forgot when
yeah,
it. Yeah. Fair
yeah,
play.
we've sung that on a number of occasions. Just I don't know why. For some reason, that song is anchored to you. So if that song comes
Tell me
on,
why.
that's a
Tell
Marcus
me, tell
Elwell
me
kind
why.
of song.
What
What's
was
that?
it? What? Tell me why. What was the?
I don't remember why. I just remember us singing it once, or I started singing it and you just joined in and you were singing along with me and we were both having a little dance.
Well,
For some
yeah. Fair play.
reason,
I love it. I love it.
now that is just something that reminds me of you. But you have a song, and it's a song that you actually sent me the link to last year to listen to, and I have to say it's a really, really powerful song. So could you please share with us your choice of song and how it links to what is just a fabulous conversation that we've had today?
Yeah, so Know That You Are Loved, and it's just a really lovely song. And whenever I listen to it, it's about 8 minutes long, so it's quite long. But for me, when I was rebuilding myself, I was really vulnerable, physically and mentally broken. And I remember hearing this for the first time, and it just got me really present, really in my heart, and it just let me know that I was enough, and I wasn't feeling enough at the time, and it just shifted me. It's such a I actually ended up doing like a meditation into it. So I know we didn't actually touch on meditation. It's one big thing that you is fundamental to me as well. So I just want to get that in. If you can, if you're not already, meditation is the key and the gateway to all of this.
I mean, you put meditation down to one of the reasons you recuperated from your brain tumor, don't you?
Yeah, I just can't believe that we've not touched on that at all. It's just been it's been one of those things, but here we are now doing it. So this for me, when I've listened to it in my ice barrel. It's 8 minutes long, and I will just completely lose myself. I'm like a spirit animal, spirit bird, whatever you want to call. And I just love it, and it's just there for me as a reminder that no matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing, you're enough. So that's what this song is.
Amazing. Amazing.
I would
Thank you.
I wouldn't do it much justice if I tried to sing it, because
Not
it's a
going to try and
beautiful
sing it.
female voice, but it's the words are know that you are loved. So it's a know you are loved, rest in peace, and it just goes on from there. So it's just like rest in peace, know that you are loved, know that you are loved. So just remember that. So if we could take one thing away from today, if you don't take anything else, know that you are loved, know that you come from love, and just be your amazing self. Okay. And you are loved. So come from love. That's what the heart of the saddle is all about. Lead from love. What would love do? Think about that in every situation. How would, if love was like the thing, how would it handle it? So, and come from that place, and your world will change. Promise you.
That is incredible. What a last little line you've just left us with there. That is amazing. Marcus, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm so happy you're here. I'm absolutely delighted with some of the advice and concepts that you've brought to everyone today. So I'm going to summarize now. Let's wrap up. Now, if there's one thing that I want you to take from today, it's this: selling isn't about becoming someone else, is it? It's about becoming more of who you really are. And I think that Marcus has really demonstrated that today for us. So when you look after you, when you look after your well-being, when you stop treating, sales as something you have to do and start seeing it as a genuine extension of your values, your purpose, everything shifts. And, just that summary from Marcus there of come from a place of love and everything will just feel lighter, certainly with sales, if not everything in life. So please don't just, sit on your headphones or in your car or wherever you're listening to this from right now. Do those tasks that Marcus has set for you, and it's not going to take you long, and it will give you a shift. It will give you a shift in how you think, how you sell, how you can change the way you show up. But most of all, remember this: you do not want to get to the end of your journey asking what if, as Marcus has said. So what if you backed yourself? What if you did take those steps? What if you did raise your prices? What if you were just true to you? What if? So use what you've heard today to start answering those questions while you've actually still got some of those choices available to you. So once again, Marcus, thank you so much for your honesty, for the depth, and for your absolutely unique perspectives that you've brought to us today, and for actually reminding us, we've only got one life and we've got to go all in. So if you'd like to explore Marcus's work a bit more, they're in the show notes. Everything is in the show notes, including a link to Heart of the Sale, his amazing book. And before you just go back into the pace of your day to day, do something from this conversation, even one small action. As Marcus says, the 1%. Build something in your life that you don't want to escape from. So thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.